how could Shakur beat him if he can't hurt him? That would be my question.
Listen, you don't have to hurt him, you just have to outscore him. You know, Shakur takes a good shot, though. You know, he's a specialist. That's why some fights that he doesn't look good in, because he's so superior. And it's boring watching sometimes. But he's a specialist. He knows what he's doing. He's hard to beat.
I think it's going to be a great fight. I think that I keep mentioning Mayweather versus Castillo. If you haven't seen that fight, watch that fight. Castillo beat Mayweather with the same style.
You know that. So I'm the best fighter in boxing.
Two skillful fighters, two talented fighters, you know, two fighters that are at a high skill level that will compete in the sweet science.
How you beat Teofimo Lopez? Because there's a blueprint out to beat Teofimo Lopez. Ain't no blueprint out to beat no damn Shakur Stevenson. Lopez don't know how to beat Shakur Stevenson. Ain't no damn blueprint. But I tell you who got a blueprint on how to beat Lopez. That's Shakur Stevenson. He know how to beat Lopez. Yeah, Lopez don't know how to.
Boxing legends are going absolutely crazy with their predictions for Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, and what they're saying will shock you. This isn't just another fight preview. These are Hall of Famers and elite analysts completely divided, throwing their reputations on the line with bold declarations that are setting the boxing world on fire. We're talking about legends who have seen it all, fought the best, and trained champions, and they can't agree on who wins this war. Some are calling it the most evenly matched superfight in years, while others are making bombshell predictions that one fighter will completely dominate. The breakdown from these experts reveals secrets about both fighters that casual fans have never heard. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why this fight has the potential to be an instant classic or a brutal one-sided beatdown.
Teofimo Lopez.
That's a good damn fight, too. See, that fight is skill for skill, as good as this fight. Yeah. But they just haven't been around long enough to prove themselves yet. But skill for skill, as far as equality, to me, Bud and Canelo are equal because when they're in their career, because how accomplished they are. Yeah. These two guys are also equal when they're in their career, because they're accomplished, but not as accomplished as these two. But they're still equal accomplished. You understand me? So those are two.
Here's where it gets wild. Former champion Shawn Porter just delivered a shocking take that has everyone talking. Porter, who fought at the highest level and knows what it takes to win big fights, gave Teofimo Lopez the edge in this matchup. But here's the kicker, it's not just about power or speed. Porter is citing Lopez's versatility and adaptability, especially now that he's moved up to 140 pounds. According to Porter, Lopez has found his natural weight class and is operating at a completely different level than when he was draining himself to make 135. Porter believes that Shakur's ability to adjust mid-fight and switch between boxing and brawling gives him the tools to solve the Steve puzzle. This isn't some casual prediction either. Porter is breaking down specific technical aspects of Lopez's game that most people overlook, and his reasoning is making other experts take notice.
Ultimate skill fighter versus a boxer who's twitchy, and twitchy sometimes beats out skills. Sometimes that's the side that can really beat a straight up boxer to me. Somebody who's twitchy. You know, because they don't fight, you know, as normally as most boxers fight. They give angles, body movements, bouncing around like a Lomachenko would done, even a Crawford does, you know what I'm saying, moves different angles and so forth. That's why they can beat a lot of boxers. A lot of people are rolling with Shakur, and I understand, because he's dope. But I don't know who's going to show up what day. What Shakur showing up, or what Teo's going to show up. You get what I'm saying?
Nah, you know, we going to Shakur going to always be Shakur. The offense that we saw from him in his last fight was just, he knew what he had in front of him.
It does go back and forth. I'm gonna tell you why. Because Teo, what I do is I remove all the the negative about what we know about Tia. I remove all of that, and then I look at the fighter. That still is a good fighter. You know what I mean? Strong, fast, you know what I mean? Explosive, unpredictable. And he can hurt you. And every time he's had to step up, he really did step up. You know what I mean? But besides the Cambodia fight. But he stepped up. So I think Shakur. Yeah, my first mind tells me Shakur. And I thought about it, yeah. I'm picking Shakur by decision. But because this is fighting, anything can happen.
But wait, legendary trainer and former champion Tim Bradley just dropped an absolute bombshell that completely contradicts Porter's analysis. Bradley didn't just pick Lopez to win. He boldly declared that Shakur is too technical and too savvy for Teofimo Lopez to handle. Here's what's crazy about Bradley's take. He explicitly said that Stevenson has the blueprint to beat Lopez, and that Lopez simply doesn't know how to beat Stevenson. That's not just confidence. That's Bradley saying he's identified a fundamental mismatch in styles. Bradley, who fought elite competition throughout his career and now trains fighters at the highest level, is basically saying that Lopez's tools, while impressive, aren't the right tools for this specific job. He's suggesting that Stevenson's ring IQ and defensive mastery create problems that Lopez has never learned to solve. And at this level of boxing, not knowing how to win means you're going to lose badly.
Pierre said, you know, the twitchiness, that athleticism that Teofimo has is what gives someone like Shakur problems, because it throws off his timing.
Yep.
Shakur is flat out amazing. I've watched this kid. He can find anybody's time.
Right.
So if you give him the space with just lot of feints and stuff like that, he gonna still pick it up and he's still gonna find it. I got a feeling this thing.
The praise for Stevenson keeps getting more intense, and now respected analyst Teddy Atlas is weighing in with observations that reveal a completely new dimension to Shakur's game. Atlas praised Stevenson's recent performance against Williams Zepeda, noting how Stevenson blended aggression with his usual elusiveness in ways that nobody expected. Atlas pointed out that Stevenson fought effectively both inside and outside controlled space while still countering brilliantly, and showed he could adapt his style without losing his defensive advantages. This is huge because critics have always said Stevenson was too defensive, too cautious, too unwilling to engage. But Atlas is saying that narrative is dead. He's highlighting that Stevenson has evolved into a complete fighter who can box, fight, counter, and pressure, all while maintaining the defensive skills that made him famous. If Atlas is right, Lopez isn't just facing the old Stevenson who would coast to decisions. He's facing a fighter who can hurt you in multiple ways.
Already know the damn rest. Can somebody please tell me how you beat Shakur Stevenson? Please, somebody tell me, how the hell do you beat some damn Shakur Stevenson? I'll wait. How you beat Shakur Stevenson? Can somebody please, on the contrary, please tell me, how the hell do you beat Teofimo Lopez? How you beat Teofimo Lopez? Because there's a blueprint out to beat Teofimo Lopez. Ain't no blueprint out to beat no damn Shakur Stevenson. Lopez don't know how to beat Shakur Stevenson. Ain't no damn blueprint. But I tell you who got a blueprint on how to beat Lopez. That's Shakur Stevenson. He know how to beat Lopez. Yeah, Lopez don't know how.
Now here's where the predictions get absolutely fascinating. Top analyst and former fighter Algerie is breaking down this matchup as a high-level chess match where discipline beats explosiveness. Algerie acknowledges that Lopez brings speed, power, and athletic unpredictability to the table, but here's his critical point. Those strengths only matter if Lopez can sustain that pressure for all 12 rounds. Algerie is essentially saying that Lopez's biggest weapons become liabilities if he can't maintain them consistently. He predicts that Stevenson will frustrate Lopez by making him miss and capitalizing with clean counters and sharp combinations. According to Algerie, Lopez may have moments of success early, especially if he starts fast and aggressive, but Stevenson's consistency and ring IQ will take over as the fight progresses. This prediction suggests that we're looking at a fight where the later rounds become absolutely crucial, and the fighter with better conditioning and mental discipline will pull away when it matters most.
Shakur showed aggression in his last fight against Zepeda, being elusive while being aggressive, walking them down, fighting on the inside, boxing well, still being able to counter, still being able to control space, but also be able to go into tight quarters and not be afraid to show that he's good on the inside too, that he can make you miss and make you pay outside and inside. Shakur showed that. That was great. That was great, and people applaud him. I applaud him. We were sitting there, ringside. I was sitting there actually with your sister, ringside, watching that fight. And it was a terrific performance. Shakur showing that dimension.
But hold up, because respected analyst Greg Hackett is refusing to count out Lopez, and his reasoning reveals just how dangerous this fight really is. Hackett acknowledges Lopez as a serious threat, specifically because of his natural physical gifts and fighting instincts. Here's what makes Lopez so scary according to Hackett. He's fast, powerful, explosive, and unpredictable, which means he can change a fight in an instant or with one punch. Even when Lopez isn't boxing perfectly, his athleticism and strength allow him to create danger in exchanges. Hackett points out that Lopez has proven he can rise to the occasion against top competition, showing flashes of greatness when stepping up against elite opponents. Because boxing is inherently unpredictable, Hackett stresses that Lopez can never be completely counted out, no matter what the technical breakdown suggests. Still, despite respecting Lopez's danger, Hackett ultimately favors Stevenson due to Shakur's consistency, discipline, and ability to control fights over the full distance.
Showing that dog, like people like to show or like to talk.
Here's where the analysis gets even more intense. Elite junior welterweight contender Gary Antoine Russell is calling this fight a true 50-50, and his breakdown reveals why both fighters are so confident heading into this war. Russell stresses that both Lopez and Stevenson operate with elite-level confidence and skill, and at this level of boxing, confidence isn't optional, it's a requirement to compete and succeed. Neither fighter is intimidated by the other, and that mental parity is exactly what makes this matchup so even and so dangerous. Russell explains that Lopez can win because of his natural strength, superior athleticism, and solid boxing IQ. These traits give Lopez a physical and explosive advantage, especially if he applies pressure intelligently rather than just rushing in wildly. When Lopez is disciplined and patient, his power and athletic tools can shift any fight in his favor, and Russell believes Stevenson has never faced someone with Lopez's specific combination of skills.
I'm interested in due to the fact that, depending on who dominates their portion of the fight, that's how that fight will go. I don't think it's going to end in a knockout. I think it's going to go 12 rounds for sure. But it depends on how the first 6 rounds goes, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that Shakur is going to come out and try to fight or take the fight to Teo in the first 6 rounds at all. So if he's fighting off the back foot, if Teo can make it so that he's convincingly, or he's convinced at least Shakur that he may have won 4 of the first 6 rounds, if it's 4-2 in Shakur's mind going into the second half of the fight, or if I'm looking at him stealing those first 6 rounds, then it's an interesting fight going into the tail end, because Teo, to me, is a front runner, right? I want to see if he can carry his energy and his explosiveness late in the fight and not wear down. And then when Shakur starts to open up, can you steal some of those chances?
But here's Russell's most important point, and this could be the key to the entire fight. According to Russell, Lopez's performance level on fight night is the deciding factor in this matchup. Lopez isn't a one-dimensional fighter. He has different versions of himself that show up depending on his preparation and mental state. When Lopez is focused, disciplined, and fully locked in, he becomes extremely dangerous and nearly unbeatable. Russell specifically points to the Lomachenko fight as the perfect example of Lopez at his absolute best. In that bout, Lopez controlled distance, stayed patient, followed the game plan perfectly, and used his athleticism and power intelligently rather than recklessly. If that version of Lopez shows up against Stevenson, Russell believes Lopez will win because he combines physical strength with composure and high boxing IQ. This isn't hype or promotional nonsense. This is a technical endorsement of Lopez's proven ability to perform at the elite level when everything clicks.
If Teo comes out and does what he usually does, which is try to swarm Shakur early and keep Shakur on the defensive early, then he can try to steal a lot of those early rounds. And if he does that, then Shakur has to fight in the tail end of that fight, and that'll make it real interesting. If I'm looking at the first 3 rounds, first 4 rounds, and Teo looks like he's losing those rounds convincingly, then it's an easy night for Shakur, unanimous decision in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because I don't think Teo is going to bring anything late in the game, you know what I mean, to this fight. I think if he is who he's always been, you know, he's going to get gassed after like the 7th round and then take some rounds off. And when he does that, Shakur will open up and start to try to pick him apart, pot shot him, and do things like that. But this is the perfect fight.
Oscar Valdez has been breaking down Stevenson's style in ways that reveal exactly why Shakur is so difficult to beat. And his analysis is absolutely eye-opening. Valdez explained that Stevenson executes a highly technical, patient game plan that controls distance, tempo, and rhythm so effectively that fighters simply can't impose their own style or make meaningful adjustments during the fight. Valdez emphasized that Stevenson doesn't deviate from his strategy and makes it incredibly hard for opponents to land clean punches or disrupt his flow. He compared fighting Stevenson to playing a chess match rather than engaging in a typical boxing brawl, where every move is calculated and every opening is immediately closed. Valdez advised that fighters must stay patient and avoid frustration because Stevenson's meticulous, methodical approach puts relentless psychological pressure on opponents to fight his fight, not theirs. The mental warfare aspect of facing Stevenson might be even more challenging than the physical skills.
Thoughts sometimes that cross my brain, like, damn, what if Teo catch him like good though? You know what I mean? And hurt him. Or what if he just out hustling? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a lot of shit that crossed my mind, but I still like Shakur for the dub. I like Shakur for the dub because he knows how to win. Like, he knows how to win. You know what I'm saying? And he's always prepared to win. So, and I think Shakur respects Teo to the point where he gonna train like he's never trained before, because this is a great fight for him. This is probably the best fight of his career up to date. Even though he's been in some great fights, this is probably the best opponent. You know what I mean? And Teo, same for Teo. So when it's like that, when you put Magic and Bird together, it happens. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of situation it is. Magic Johnson was nice, but Larry Bird was nice. You put them together, you get a nice game.
But get this, Valdez also pointed out specific tools and strategies that Lopez possesses that could genuinely trouble Stevenson, especially if Lopez forces Shakur to fight outside his comfort zone. Valdez believes that Lopez has the ability to avoid falling into Stevenson's preferred tactical rhythm, which is crucial for any fighter hoping to beat Shakur. Some of Valdez's commentary highlights how Lopez might exploit certain aspects of Stevenson's game plan to come out on top, particularly if Lopez can disrupt Stevenson's timing and distance control. While Valdez hasn't given a straightforward winner pick in traditional interviews, his analysis makes it clear that he believes Lopez has a real shot at victory, particularly if Lopez sticks to his strengths and keeps Stevenson off balance throughout the fight. This suggests that Lopez's path to victory isn't just about landing one big shot. It's about sustained pressure and tactical disruption.
Play out in the ring.
It's 50-50. You know, in order for you to participate in this sport, you gotta have a high level of confidence. I feel like both of them has a high level of confidence. Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, but styles make fights. Naturally, I think Teofimo Lopez is stronger than Shakur. Naturally, I think he has more athleticism than Shakur, and he got a good IQ on the sport itself. But Shakur, I feel like he's a more smarter fighter. He's a more technical fighter. You know, I'm not saying that he's a square or he's just a textbook fighter, but he's seasoned, he's poised. I feel like mentally he's more mature. Like, he don't go outside of the boundaries on taking risks. So a lot of times you'll see him fight somebody that could be stiff competition, and it'll wind up being a boring fight to a degree. You know, that's why everybody was critical.
Now here's something fascinating that reveals the personal dynamic between these fighters. In a recent interview, Shakur Stevenson addressed the so-called beef between him and Lopez, and what he revealed shows exactly how both fighters view this matchup. Stevenson clarified that in his view, There was never any real conflict or animosity between them. He explained that the tension started when Lopez attended one of his fights against Edwin dos Santos, and Stevenson admits he sized up Lopez in the locker room afterward. But here's the key detail. Stevenson emphasizes that this was only because he had always pictured them facing each other in the future. According to Stevenson, this was a natural competitive response rather than an act of disrespect or intimidation. Stevenson believes Lopez might have misinterpreted that moment and felt some type of way about it. But Shakur insists there was never any real beef, static, or ongoing personal issues between them. He continues by acknowledging Lopez's talent, describing him as a consistently great fighter, making it clear that any perceived tension was just part of the natural competitive mindset that two elite fighters have when they anticipate a future matchup.
He's going to be a careful fighter. Now, just because he's a careful fighter doesn't mean that he isn't punctual with how he do things. I think Shakur, he got a lot in this arsenal that he can use to make him be victorious, as well as Teofimo Lopez. You know what I mean? So it's a 50-50 fight, and it depends on what fighters show up the night of the fight. Right. You know, but if I had to give you my whole honest truth, if Teofimo Lopez show up and is ready to fight just like how he fought long.
So there you have it. Boxing legends are completely split on Stevenson versus Lopez, with Hall of Famers and elite analysts making bold predictions that reveal just how evenly matched these fighters really are. Some see Stevenson's technical mastery and ring IQ as insurmountable advantages, while others believe Lopez's athleticism and power create problems that Shakur has never faced. The experts agree on one thing: this fight comes down to which version of each fighter shows up on fight night. This isn't just about boxing skills anymore. This is about mental preparation, game planning, and who can impose their will when everything is on the line. And honestly, the fact that legends who have seen everything can't agree tells you this fight is going to be absolutely special. So here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Do you think Stevenson's technical skills beat Lopez's athleticism, or does Lopez have the tools to solve the Shakur puzzle? Who do you think will win this fight and why? If this breakdown helped you understand what the experts are really thinking, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this fight is going to be incredible and you don't want to miss any of the coverage. I'll see you in the next one.
Shakur Stevenson, like I said, it's easier said than done with a fighter like that because, it's not like he's too back from you. He's just right there in your face, and once you throw, he just rocks back a little bit and touches you. Then it becomes very frustrating. Then when you start loading up, then he does it again. He starts loading up in his shots bubble, but just unboxing you. So I would just say it's like I said, it's a tough one for me to pick who will come out victorious. That's why I go with the 50-50 fight.
What was like the most frustrating thing? You mentioned, Teo has to stay focused. He can't get frustrated. I remember watching your fight against Shakur there live. It seemed that you were getting a little bit frustrating. Like, what was the most frustrating thing you think happened in that, like, Teo, I guess, can expect?
Well, I mean, me and Teofimo are completely different fighters. Teofimo is more of a fighter. Like, he's a ring generalship. He's in there thinking. He's.
But wait, we're not done yet because there's another layer to this story that's absolutely mind-blowing. Former undisputed lightweight champion George Kambosos Jr. just gave his take on this matchup, and his perspective is unique because he's actually fought Teofimo Lopez in one of the biggest upsets in recent boxing history. Kambosos knows firsthand what it's like to face Lopez's power, speed, and unpredictability, and his insights are revealing things about Lopez that other analysts might be missing. According to Kambosos, Lopez is at his most dangerous when he's underestimated or when people think they have him figured out. Kambosos pointed out that Lopez has a fighter's heart and refuses to be broken, even when things aren't going his way. But here's the fascinating part. Kambosos also acknowledged that Lopez can be vulnerable when fighters make him think too much or disrupt his natural rhythm. This is exactly what Kambosos did in their fight, and he believes Stevenson has similar tools to create those same problems for Lopez.
Be Shakur, he's not going to change because Marco said it, because I said it, or anybody says it. He's going to fight his own fight to just win. He doesn't care how it is, but he just wants to win. So I think the important one here is going to not to be Teofimo Lopez, what his game plan is or what his tactic is going to be. But I think if someone could pull it off, I would say it's Teofimo.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you count out Teo, he gets the win. Like with Loma, no, everyone counted him out. He got the win. Josh Taylor, yeah, you know,
he's been proving it. And then sometimes he'll have a not good of a performance in other people's eyes.
Inconsistent.
And people will say, "All right," and it's like Manny Robles would tell me, my trainer. He would say, "You're only as good as your last fight." So if people would see Teofimo Lopez's last performance, they would be like, "All right." If it wasn't a good one, they'd say, "All right, it's gonna be a walk in the park for Shakur," but not really, because every time the competition goes up.
Here's where Kambosos' analysis gets really interesting. He's suggesting that this fight might come down to who can better handle adversity and adjust when their initial game plan isn't working. Kambosos believes both fighters have championship-level hearts, but he questions whether Lopez has learned from the lessons of their fight together. According to Kambosos, Lopez sometimes tries to force things when patience would serve him better, and against a counterpuncher like Stevenson, that tendency could be costly. Kambosos is essentially saying that Lopez's aggressive instincts, which can be his greatest asset, might also be his biggest weakness against someone as technically sound as Shakur. This creates a fascinating psychological dynamic where Lopez has to fight his own nature to be successful, while Stevenson gets to be exactly who he is. That's a huge mental advantage for Stevenson if Kambosos is right about Lopez's tendencies.
Explain the history of Teofimo versus Shakur beef.
I don't even think we ever really had beef at the end of the day. I know we got into it one time because he came to my fight, and I guess he was there to support me when I fought Edwin De Los Santos. And I kind of sized him up when he came in the locker room. But I only sized him up because I always pictured us being a fight in the future. But I guess he felt some type of way about me sizing him up. But I told him right before that me and him was going to fight in the future, so I didn't really understand what was the issue with me sizing him up during that time. But it never was a beef. We never had real beef. It never was no real static or issues.
But hold on, because former world champion Danny Garcia just dropped some knowledge that completely shifts how we should view this matchup. Garcia, who's fought at the highest levels and faced both technical boxers and explosive punchers throughout his career, is focusing on something that other analysts haven't emphasized enough: the importance of experience in big moments. Garcia pointed out that both Lopez and Stevenson have been in major fights, but they've responded to pressure in different ways. According to Garcia, Lopez thrives when he embraces the chaos and lets his natural instincts take over, while Stevenson performs best when he can control the pace and dictate terms. Garcia believes this creates a fascinating clash of philosophies where success depends on who can impose their preferred fighting environment on the other. If the fight becomes a technical chess match, Stevenson has the advantage. If it becomes a wild, unpredictable war, Lopez has the edge.
Like, Teo is going to bring the fight. He's very athletic. He has a lot of explosiveness, and but I do feel like when it comes to Shakur, bro, his movement may frustrate him. The only thing that worries me when it comes to Teofimo is his frustration. Like, is he going to be able to work well with a mover? We've seen, difficulties that he had with Sandor Martin. We've seen the difficulties that he had with Jimmy Ortiz, guys that's been moving around and not staying still. Like, if you keep Teo moving around and he can't plant his feet, what can he do? We're going to have to find that out on, January 31st. And I think Shakur, he's probably one of the best guys to, move his feet, be on defense, being hella patient and frustrating a fighter, bro. Like, we got to see what his mentality is going to be like come January 31st.
Do you think that his experience on the biggest of stages, his two biggest wins, he was an underdog. Then both guys, ironically enough, were southpaws like Shakur. That play any factor to you, man?
Nah, styles is different. The styles are totally different. Lomachenko don't fight like Shakur. Josh Taylor don't fight like Shakur. Like I don't see, just because southpaw, that same thing will happen. I feel like certain techniques could be used to fight Shakur, yeah. But in terms of like that approach of the fight, nah. Like, Shakur fights totally different. You gotta be able to do some out of pocket stuff with Shakur. You gotta throw while he's throwing. That's probably some of the only times that
Garcia's breakdown goes even deeper, and this is where it gets really technical. He's analyzing how both fighters handle different types of pressure and what that means for their game plans. According to Garcia, Lopez has shown he can handle being behind on the scorecards because he has the power and explosiveness to change a fight instantly. This gives Lopez a psychological edge because he knows he's never really out of a fight, which allows him to stay relaxed and patient even when things aren't going perfectly. On the other hand, Garcia notes that Stevenson has shown incredible composure when fighters try to rough him up or force him into uncomfortable situations. Stevenson's ability to stay calm and stick to his game plan under pressure is what separates him from other technical fighters who might crumble when things get messy. Garcia is essentially saying that both fighters have proven they can handle adversity, but in completely different ways. Now here's a perspective that nobody saw coming, and it's absolutely fascinating. Legendary trainer Freddie Roach, who's worked with some of the greatest fighters in boxing history, is looking at this matchup through the lens of styles and how they age over time. Roach believes that technical fighters like Stevenson tend to have longer careers and more consistent performances because their style doesn't rely as heavily on physical attributes that can diminish with age or wear. According to Roach, fighters who depend on athleticism and explosiveness like Lopez often face challenges when those physical gifts start to fade, even slightly. But here's the twist. Roach also acknowledges that Lopez is still in his athletic prime, which means this might be the perfect time for him to face someone like Stevenson. Roach is suggesting that timing is everything in this matchup, and Lopez needs to capitalize on his current physical advantages before Stevenson's technical skills become even more refined with experience. Roach's analysis gets even more intriguing when he talks about preparation and game planning. According to Roach, technical fighters like Stevenson are often better at making adjustments between rounds because their style is based on reading and reacting to what their opponent is doing. This gives Stevenson an advantage in a long fight where adjustments become crucial. However, Roach points out that explosive fighters like Lopez can sometimes succeed by refusing to let the fight become a technical battle. If Lopez can maintain high intensity and keep Stevenson in uncomfortable positions throughout the fight, he might prevent Shakur from settling into his preferred rhythm. Roach is essentially saying that Lopez's best chance is to turn this into a fight where technical skills matter less than heart, determination, and raw athletic ability. But wait, there's another angle to this story that reveals just how much respect these fighters have earned from their peers. Former champion Keith Thurman recently gave his take on the matchup, and his perspective is unique because he's faced both technical boxers and explosive punchers at the welterweight level. Thurman believes that both Lopez and Stevenson represent the absolute elite of their generation, and this fight is essentially a passing of the torch moment for the sport. According to Thurman, fights like this don't come around often because it requires two fighters at their peak to be willing to risk everything against each other. Thurman emphasized that both fighters have everything to lose and everything to gain, which creates the perfect storm for an incredible fight. He believes that neither fighter will be able to coast or rely on just one aspect of their game because their opponent is too skilled and too dangerous. Thurman's breakdown of the technical aspects is absolutely brilliant, and it reveals layers to this matchup that casual fans might not appreciate. According to Thurman, Stevenson's footwork and distance control are among the best in boxing today, which gives him the ability to dictate where exchanges happen and how long they last. This is crucial against someone like Lopez, who needs to get into certain ranges to be effective with his power shots. Thurman believes that if Stevenson can keep Lopez at the end of his jab and make him work for every opportunity, Shakur will win a clear decision. However, Thurman also acknowledges that Lopez has shown the ability to cut off the ring and trap even elusive fighters, which could neutralize some of Stevenson's movement advantages. Thurman is essentially saying that this fight will be won or lost in the details. Footwork, positioning, timing, and ring generalship will matter more than raw power or speed. Here's where the story takes another fascinating turn. Rising star Garcia, who knows both fighters personally and has sparred with elite competition throughout his career, is offering insights that reveal the personal dynamics between Lopez and Lopez. According to Garcia, both fighters have tremendous respect for each other's abilities, but they also genuinely believe they have the tools to win. Garcia has seen both fighters in training and believes that their different approaches to preparation might be a factor in the fight. He describes Garcia as someone who feeds off energy and emotion, while Stevenson is more methodical and systematic in his approach. Garcia believes this creates an interesting dynamic where Shakur might have an emotional edge early in the fight, but Garcia's consistency could take over as the fight progresses and Lopez's emotional energy starts to fade. Garcia's analysis goes deeper into the psychological aspects of this matchup, and this is where it gets really interesting. According to Ryan, fighters like Garcia who rely on confidence and momentum can be devastating when everything is clicking, but they can also be vulnerable if their opponent can weather the early storm and make them doubt themselves. Stevenson believes that Garcia's defensive skills and counterpunching ability are perfectly suited to frustrate aggressive fighters and make them question their approach. On the flip side, Garcia acknowledges that Lopez has never faced someone with Garcia's specific combination of speed, power, and unpredictability, which means Shakur might be forced to adjust his game plan in ways he's never had to before. Garcia is essentially saying that both fighters will be tested in new ways, and whoever adapts better will emerge victorious. The momentum behind this fight is absolutely incredible, and even fighters from other weight classes are weighing in with predictions that show just how much attention this matchup is generating. Former middleweight champion Daniel Jacobs recently shared his thoughts, and his perspective is valuable because he understands what it takes to perform in high-pressure situations against elite competition. According to Jacobs, fights like Lopez versus Stevenson are what boxing needs because they feature two fighters in their prime who are willing to face each other without waiting or making excuses. Jacobs believes that both fighters deserve credit for taking this fight when they could have chosen easier opponents, and he expects that mutual respect and competitive fire to produce an incredible performance from both men. Jacobs is also analyzing the technical matchup, and his breakdown reveals why this fight is so difficult to predict. According to Jacobs, Lopez's southpaw stance creates unique angles that could trouble Stevenson, especially if Lopez can establish his jab early and control the center of the ring. However, Jacobs also notes that Stevenson's experience against quality southpaws and his ability to make adjustments gives him tools to neutralize Lopez's stance advantage. Jacobs believes that the first few rounds will be crucial because they'll establish which fighter can impose their preferred style on the other. If Lopez can make it rough and physical early, he might be able to disrupt Stevenson's timing and rhythm. If Stevenson can establish his jab and movement early, he might be able to frustrate Lopez and force him into making mistakes.